Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Call of Duty 4 Remastered Veteran walkthrough. This is the 11th mission, one shot, one kill. This is a very, very renowned mission. You know this quite well. The beginning is pretty difficult. You have to watch the flag on the Jeep to see how much the wind is going to affect the shot. And then when it relaxes, you want to kind of aim with a good measure to the left of the target to curve it towards him. Depending on the wind, depending on how you choose to do it, will depend on how that sequence goes. It can take a few attempts to do. Sometimes it can take a dozen if you're just having a bad try. Sometimes the bullet does really weird Roberto Carlos physics, but for the most it shouldn't be too bad. And then begins one of the hardest missions in Call of Duty history, but not here. So the section now where you're running with Macmillan is very difficult on the original Call of Duty. And it's difficult because there are enemies coming from all kinds of distances, all kinds of angles, and they kill you very quickly. On this one, they don't. They'll shoot you like that, but that would have put me to critical screen a little bit like this, if we were playing the older version. Whereas here, we're given a much more kind grace period. And all you have to do here is run to the right of the building we're coming up on. And depending on this footage, depending on which one it is, will depend on what I do right now. Because on my first run here, I actually had to re-record this entire level, which is quite frustrating. My first run I didn't quite remember what I was doing, because this is the first time I played COD 4 in a while, but I was confident I could run through Veteran without too much trouble. I run straight towards the doors in front of Macmillan here, and I'm going to stay in that archway in the door instead of flanking around. But if you just run towards the other side of me here, the left, just round this left corner and run round the other corner, you will skip this entire sequence, but this is the first run. So you're going to notice I'm taking cover behind Macmillan. There's a lot of people looking at me, and that's a grenade indicator which could spell my doom, but it didn't. There's Macmillan clipping me in the corner again, giving me a little bit of a safety cushion or a love pillow, depending on your proclivities. And here's me trying to blow the cars up. So I run to the left. I should be pushing to the left. As you can see, I'm not being killed. I'm not really being shot. Here we go. This is where you get the checkpoint. This is where you want to go. Don't try and jump the fence. The game doesn't have good detection for that. There's your checkpoint. And that section just looks like it's on easy, doesn't it? Very confusing. That's not how it works on the original, but it's how it works here, and thus that's what you have to do. So now you're going to be pushing through the rooms with Macmillan. And if you've ever played the multiplayer map known as Block, you will have an idea of some of the setups for some of these rooms and what to expect, because it is almost directly referenced in the multiplayer map. So it's quite useful for an experienced player, but if you're a new player, you're going to have to use every ability that you have. To your left, a dog will attack here. If you kill it, it will not jump after you. If you don't kill it, it's going to come hopping over all the walls, and you can see Macmillan aiming behind us because he knows it's on its way. So you'll see the dog barking, and you'll see it hopping over the windows, so you want to put the dog down as quickly as you can. Work towards your knife achievement, or just spray it with the P90, whichever one you choose. And the things to know about this level, on the remaster, all of it is simple except for the end. The end is just as random and annoying as it always was, because you're going to get a checkpoint that is a little bit further out than I would have liked, and you are timed to get Macmillan to the helicopter. If you waste time waiting for the enemies to be thinned, it will run out of fuel and you will fail. So you have to move to him and carry him to the chopper as soon as it turns up, because if you don't, you're probably going to fail. That's not mentioning that the enemies on that sequence can group up exactly where you need to go and make getting to him very difficult. And then when you die, you have to wait the minute or so again for the chopper to land, so it breeds a rather luck-dependent, annoying checkpoint. The one thing with it, though, that must be said is, if you do have luck on your side when you're trying to save Macmillan, this section's not that bad. I tried a couple times on the first run, and got it, and then on my second run that I had to do, I got it the first attempt. So it just goes to show it can be random sometimes whether or not you'll have success. But my strategy is the same one I've always used in Call of Duty. My first time through Veteran, I just kind of survived. It was messy, it was ugly, but I did it. Then I did it on the PC, and I came up with the strat that I'm going to show you. This particular sequence coming up now, you want to pop down Macmillan whenever you want to return fire, and there's going to be enemies coming from all kinds of directions, so just dump him and spray them down. Don't overthink it. Move as quickly as you can. The more aggressive you are, the safer you generally will be. There's me taking some actual Veteran damage, but it still wasn't fast enough. That would have been a death in the original. So there's a person shooting me from behind. I didn't know he was there. I should have died, really. But the strategy. I'm going to put a bunch of claymores down to the entrance of the swimming area, the swimming pool room where the enemies spawn at, and then on the fence that lines the areas where the enemies like to congregate once they come to the spawn, I'm going to put C4 down. And then when I dump Macmillan off, I'm going to do the exact same thing again. And there's going to be a chunk of C4 all across the areas where I know the enemies like to congregate, and there are going to be claymores trying to kill people before they get there. Macmillan's going to do his best, we're going to dump all that stuff, and then I'm going to go and sit in a corner where nobody will ever bother you. So you do not have to fire a single bullet in this section coming up. It's the best spot I've managed to find, where you're not at risk of grenades, you're not at risk of being shot. That being said, on the remastered version, it works a little bit differently, I felt. I actually had somebody try to throw grenades at me this time, and it sometimes didn't happen a lot on the original. And I've never been really shot at, I don't remember, but on this one I end up getting shot through the wall, which I don't really count because it's kind of just weird. But suffice to say, this is the least intensive way of surviving the time limit, and then there is the difficult part, which is running from the spot I'll show you to Macmillan and getting him on the helicopter. If you can get past the people that are congregating there, you have Lady Luck on your side. If you can't, you're unfortunate and you're going to have a much worse time. But once you pick Macmillan up, you usually don't have too much issue getting him on the chopper, because you seem to get Juggernaut or some kind of extra damage ability to be took, so you don't seemingly die as quick. Once again though guys, once you get on the helicopter you can still be shot at, so there are a wonderful awkward moment of just kind of holding your breath and hoping you don't die, and it's one of those moments that I've never really appreciated because it doesn't feel like there's any guaranteed way to do it. You just have to rely on providence, and I'm not the bigger fan of that. But there's a couple guys in this room, so be careful once you pop him down. There's also a dog, but I think Macmillan just took it out. There's one more guy left, and you're going to see me turn on this guy, which you would never be able to do in the original COD 4 usually, because the enemies killed you that fast, but he's to my left in this next room, I believe. Oh, that must be different footage, my bad. There's another dog. Take it out. Reload your P90. If you don't have a P90, just use whatever you... Oh, there's a dog. Wow, that was lucky. But I got the quick time event, so I'm alive. If you don't get the quick time event, you will never survive that. It's pretty dodgy. It's funny too, because I don't really remember the quick time event being as fierce as it is, but it's pretty fierce. You know, we've got really lazy when it comes to quick times. Just mash every button and you win nowadays, but on this game, not so much. And the first time the dog attacked me, I was bashing B to try and get it off, and I did get my throat ripped out, so you've got to be precise or it doesn't pay off. And then here is the swimming pool. So you might have wondered, on Block, on the multiplayer, what's the point of the pool? Well, it's just a part of the geometry. It's just taken from the campaign, and it's one of those areas where the only time you ever found people in here is if they were doing weird shit, like that challenge where you didn't die an entire game, so people used to just go and sit in the grass, didn't they, and hope nobody found them. Well, you would see people in here oftentimes doing things like that, or I don't know, but there's no real reason ever to go in the pool in the multiplayer because you generally do not find traffic. But alas, this is the sequence you were waiting for. Also, be careful when you drop Macmillan and you go planting claymores and C4. If you move too far away from him before you've dumped him, the game will fail you for getting too far away from Macmillan. It's actually pretty strict. I don't know why it does that. It seems kind of stupid to me, but it does, so it's something that you have to abide by. So, pick him up, dump him near the fence, and then proceed to run around and putting your things down. Do not place him though, because you'll only get to put one set of each, and I'm almost certain that you can double stack these. I couldn't be completely certain because I'm not too sure, but I feel like I was able to get twice as many things on the floor, and there doesn't seem to be a limit. So this is me planting the claymores. I have no idea if claymores will set off other claymores if they're too close, and if it's kind of picky about the radius on that kind of stuff, because I can't remember, guys, it's been a long time. But I'm going to put C4 next to cars to try and blow them up, even though a lot of these cars look like shitbangers that have already blown up, and then I'm going to stick them on this fence, close to this fence. This fence is where all the dudes are going to congregate on the path that I'm going to be. So I'm going to dump as many C4s around it as I can, and then I'm going to go and pick up good old Macmillan. We're then going to put him in the one spot the game wants you to put him in, which I wish you could put him in a different place. If you could pick the spot to put him, it'd make this so much easier. But unfortunately, you have to put him over there where there's no cover. I really, really think that looking back on the design of this particular fight, it's just not very well made. It feels great when you're doing it on like recruit and on regular, but when you do it on veteran, it just feels like cheating. It feels like the computer is too strong in this instance, and there's nowhere that is safe. Because if you find a good spot where you don't get shot, get ready for the grenades, because the grenades are coming, and they're going to come all the time. And we're talking 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 sets of them at a time. You know, it's not quite as bad as what World of War will be later on in the year after this game was made, but it's still pretty egregious. And if you've never experienced the grenade storms, pick up those old games and give them a try, because you really do get forced to move, and the moment you move out of cover, you're dead. But that's my spot, guys, coming up. It's just in this corner. So I'm going to chuck the final piece of C4 just here, and then I'm going to go and sit on this little L spot here, and this is all we do, guys. We sit here. This is the spot. And what will happen is you will hear the enemies turn up, you will hear the claymores going off, you'll hear Macmillan shooting them, and then you will see the objective ticking down. If you get what I often get when I do this strategy, you will not be challenged by anybody, so you can sit here with almost complete immunity. But be aware, games are weird, guys. Stuff happens. Sometimes rare stuff happens. Sometimes it doesn't. If you get one of those moments where a grenade gets close enough to hurt you, you got immensely unlucky. If anybody rushes you in this position, you got immensely unlucky. For the most, this should work, but admittedly, it's kind of boring. Sitting here waiting is not as interesting as shooting everybody, but shooting everybody when there's this many people and they're endlessly spawning, it feels, that it's just no dice. So safety strats are the best way to go, and that's what this is going to be. So what I'm going to do now, guys, that I've established this, is I'm going to speed it up to the point that you're all waiting for. And there it goes. So right now, as you can tell by the shrieking of the audio and the rapid fire hit markers, we are now in 400 times Earth's normal gravity. No, 400 times the speed doing this as the chopper gradually approaches us and we get a checkpoint at the halfway spot, and now you'll see the grenades. So the grenades start stacking up here because all the enemies have got to the middle area and they're all sitting on that wall, that fence that we put the C4 on, and they're all shooting towards us, chucking grenades towards me, and Macmillan is just shooting. You can hear it every so often. That big noise is Macmillan doing his shot, and here are the grenades, but they never come close enough to really touch me. There's the bullets coming through the wall. Did you see that? Weird, super artificial aim nonsense happening. Couple more grenades just then. More grenades. There is a lot of grenades, and you can see the distance of the evac coming. When it gets to like the last 100 meters, or about at this point, I'm going to be detonating my C4 coming up. So you can see it dropping down, dropping down, dropping down. Last few meters, boom! C4 goes and we run. Put your MP5 on or wherever you've got and hope not to die, basically. That's all you can do. Do not try and jump over this fence, you can't do it. Look at all the enemies. Look how many people there is here, and none of them are shooting me. 100% luck and bullshit, guys. Pray, run, pray. And get to Macmillan. Pick him up, and once you pick him up, you're done. You'll still take a lot of damage, though, so be very careful here. Like, look at this. How do you control this? You can't control this with skill. It's impossible. It's just stupid, and it's always been stupid. It's admittedly easier now, but look, I got shot from behind just then. Look how many people there is here. And you clip on your people, you clip on the chopper. Like, look at it. This is absolutely stupid. Everything about it. And thankfully, if you can get lucky like that was just then, you'll get through and you'll never have to do this again. But it's just one of those moments where I'll never find fun in the end of this mission, because to me, it's completely uncontrollable. It's just weird. It's a really weird section. And once you start flying away, you've done it. Objective complete, and that's all you need, guys. But you might not have that run. Look, I pause it. It's definitely on veteran. It's just one of those levels. It sucks. But thank you for watching. Good luck with it, and you take care now.